Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at the last book in the City of Greyhawk box set, Folk, Feuds, and Factions. This is the book of the NPCs in and around the City of Greyhawk and what makes them tick. It's a nice little book. We get a complete look at the Circle of 8 in here. It's really a very good book. This whole set is available on DriveThruRPG. I'll show the box as I go into the video. I recommend it highly for anybody who's serious about their Greyhawk. So today on page 121, Folk, Feuds, and Factions. This is the box set, The City of Greyhawk. This was published in 1989 by TSR, and was the box that was working to shift us from first edition to second edition AD&D. Consequently, this is actually a first and second edition product. So, really good product. I profiled the box and the other booklet in here in a previous video. Today we're just going to concentrate on the last part of it, which is Greyhawk, Folk, Feuds, and Factions. I do want to say this is available. The entire set is available on DriveThruRPG for $9.99. That's a steal. I paid about $18 for this back in the day. Okay, going into the book itself. Nice little cover art. Like the cover art. We got our nice little layout here, the table of contents. Okay, brings us into the introduction, teaches us how everybody is going to be laid out in here as far as the NPC profiles. And then we go to the economics and politics. We get a lot of the politics of Greyhawk in this book, which is important because Greyhawk is a kind of a central figure, especially the early part of second edition. We're going to go to the Greyhawk Wars soon. This box set was very important for that. Nice artwork. They talk about the coinage, taxes, the powers that be. The Free City of Greyhawk is run by a mayor, Lord Mayor, and various ruling oligarchs. So they're all brought out here. So you have the Lord Mayor, and he happens to be, in this case, the Guildmaster of Thieves, a constable, the Captain General of the Watch, Guildmaster of Thieves, Guildmaster of Assassins, Guildmaster of Wizards, President of the Society of Magi, Patriarch of Bubka, Patriarch of Rao, the Guildmaster Merchants and Traders Union, Merchants and Traders Union, Merchants and Traders Union, Merchants and Traders Union, Guildmaster of Jewelers and Gem Cutters, Guildmaster of Lawyers and Scribe, and Inspector of Taxes. Those are the ruling oligarchs. There are 16 as of this printing. There could be as many as 18. There can be no fewer than 12. So the theory is the oligarchs elect the mayor, and the mayor runs Greyhawk. The reality is the oligarchs run Greyhawk, and the mayor just kind of is along for the ride. Now, my Greyhawk differs very greatly from this. Some of our player characters have actually become entrenched in the oligarchy of Greyhawk. I'm not going to go into that a lot here. I'm going to stay with what was published in the book. My campaign is way different. So here we go. We get to the ambassadors, people that come to Greyhawk. So we have the ambassador of the Duke of Ernst, the ambassador from Nyrond, the doddering old ambassador from Furiandi, who has many secrets. And then we come to the military and the law in the domain of Greyhawk. So we have the commander of the Cairn Hills, the commander of the city, Captain General of the City Watch, who also is an oligarch. The constable of Greyhawk, the deputy constable. So we got pretty much everybody you're going to need here. And then we have a look at the criminal code of Greyhawk, what penalties you can suffer for what crimes you've committed. Player characters would never commit crimes in a city, but here we are. So it's pretty sweet. I've used it. I like it. I try not to let my players go too crazy in Greyhawk because the powers that be are very powerful. I don't want player characters to run too far afoul of them. That can cause problems. So here we go into the minor crimes that can take place in Greyhawk. Weapons, taxes, and magic. In this free city, we have Inspector of Tactics. Magic, there is a strong prohibition on the use of magic, the type. Throw a fireball in Greyhawk, you're going to buy yourself a world of hurt. And this is a place that can actually make that hurt sting. We get the People's Constables, the Night Watchmen. There was a Greyhawk novel written about the Night Watch years ago. Not a bad novel. And so then we come down to the Night Watchman profiles. Guild member or torchbearer, the sergeant, a Dark Men. They are people that have infravision and work with the Night Watch, and then the Night Watch Guildmaster. Then we come to the Mages and Priests. So we get to the Guild of Wizardry, which is very important in the city of Greyhawk. They are the folks that kind of train the new upcoming crop of magic users. So very important in the city. We have a massive guild library. And then we come to Kondradus Bubka, Mage of Exchange, and he has Bubka's Superior Identification. It's a 5th level spell. That's pretty neat that it's called out here. It's also in the Magic User's Spellbook. That's my cat Caesar deciding he wants to be heard. Say hello, Caesar. Go away, Caesar. Okay. I love the little guy, but he's very vocal. So here we go over to Morn Canaan and the Circle of 8. This is a real good profile of each of the members of the Circle. Certainly not the first look we've had at them, but a pretty comprehensive view of all of them. There's Mordekainen, Tensor, Rigby, Otto, Drummage, Nystel, Rary, Autoluke, and the newest one, Jalarzi Salavarian, the first female member of the Circle of 8. We've since had a few others come in, but this was in 1989, and it was the first time they'd put a female in there. So we get a nice look at all these folks. We even get a little bit of narrative here about how she joined the Circle of 8. Next, we drop into the major priests of Greyhawk. And this is actually pretty important because there's some ambiguity as to what temples are important in Greyhawk and what aren't. So we have the Patriarch of Bokob, Pelor, Rao, and Tritherion, all right there, and the other temple heads in Greyhawk City. So we have represented Biori, Forlargan, Heronius, Istus, Norabo, Ola Damara, Foltus, Procan, Ralashaz, St. Cuthbert, Ula, Zerbo, and Zilkis. So those are pretty important temples. You'll notice the lack of evil temples. They are in Greyhawk. They just literally are underground. They exist in hiding. Now we come to the Guilds of Greyhawk, and I've used this section a lot. We go to how the guilds work, apprenticeships in the guild, and then we have the various guilds: adventurers, apothecaries and herbalists, architects and stonemasons, bakers and cooks. You'd be surprised how much you would need a guild of bakers and cooks in a well-run Greyhawk campaign. So we're going to continue through here. We've got the Gravediggers Guild. Lots of adventures just write themselves there. Jewelers and gem cutters. You're going to be interacting with a lot of these as you go into the city. Lawyers and scribes. Leather workers. Merchants and Traders Union. Mint Workers Guild. All kinds of goodies in here. Page after page of various guilds. Just a lot of fun. Now we come to the part that really holds everyone's attention. The low life. Here's the Thieves Guild in the city of Greyhawk. Pretty important part of the city of Greyhawk. A lot of the Gore the Rogue novels deal with the Thieves Guild in one way or another. Thieves Guild is very important in my campaign as well. One of my players is actually the Guildmaster in the city of Greyhawk. So we've changed that around a little bit. And then the guilds in the Thieves' Quarters. So it shows the guild by different quarters, the guild in the foreign quarter, and who the Guildmaster is of the various quarters. The Slum Quarter, which is usually where the Beggars Union is, but the Thieves definitely have a presence there. Then we go to the Assassins Guild. This was a strange time for D&D. D&D had gotten some bad press, deserved or not, I'm not going to go into. But because of that, we lost Assassins as a character class. We also gained Batazu and Tanari. And TSR treaded carefully over accepting or getting hit with any kind of outside censorship. They censored themselves, much like the comic industry did in the 50s and 60s, rather than let outsiders come in and put a bunch of restraints on them. Ultimately a good move on their part, because by the time 3rd edition came around, Assassins were back, Demons and Devils were back, and the religious folks had kind of calmed down. I've played D&D since I was 18 years old. It's not the game. It's the folks that play the game that change things around and see it the way they want to see it. But anyway, back to the Assassins Guild. One of my player characters is actually the head of the Assassins Guild in Greyhawk. Makes him a very powerful individual. That character is 42 years old, almost 42 years old, and has been consistently in my Greyhawk campaign since I started it in January of 82. So we come over to here to the Beggars Union. The Gord the Rogue books were very influential on the writing of this entire box set and a lot of the From the Ashes series. Right here is the first time we really get a look at the Beggars Union in anything officially Greyhawk. And the Beggars Union, King of Junk, precipitated a war between the Thieves Guild, and this was brought out very clearly in the early Gord books. The Beggars Union got their butts kicked and were trashed, no pun intended. Theobald, lost his place and went missing. He was ultimately killed if you've read the Gord books or seen my videos on them. And the remaining beggars sued for peace with the Thieves Guild, and they got it. So right now, the beggar master of the Beggars Union in Greyhawk is Gaspar the Beggar Master. Now we come to the Rene, the Barge Folk, who live in and about the city of Greyhawk. They ply the Near Div, the Lake of Unknown Depths, with their barges. They make up a large portion of the traffic on the Near Div coming to Greyhawk. Can be a great source of information and inspiration for your player characters. The Rene are also dealt with very well in the Gord the Rogue novels. Then we come to a very fun place here on page 49, Old Mother Grub's House of Fortune. Should call it the House of Misfortune. Mother Grub's got a secret. The secret is Mother Grub's a vampire. Mother Grub is very active in dealing in information and magical treasures, things like that. People who come to stay at her inn don't always leave. Some of them stay there for a long time as one of her vampire thrall. So I like Old Mother Grub. I ran an adventure at Old Mother Grub's. The player characters actually did quite well. They had a powerful cleric in their group, Rao, I want to say, and they kicked some butt. So then we come to the Shape Changers, also known as the Polymorph Squad. These are just some evil folks that use disguise and shape change to not only ply their craft, but they also shape change some of their victims to add confusion, things like that. It's kind of an interesting group. I've never really used them, but I could see the utility of them. So then we come to Down in the Sewers. I've run many games in Greyhawk Down in the Sewers. Do not underestimate the effect of a shambling mound made up almost entirely of excrement. It will really tick your player characters off. So we have adventures in the sewers, the monsters that are down there. Of course, we get were-rats down there, things like that. It's pretty cool. The thieves, the assassins spend a lot of their time down there, also the beggars. Then we get a group called the Cult of the Shriven Sickle. These folks work for Neril, and they work to destroy the Shieldlands as best they can. So they slay the Knights of Holy Shielding that are in Greyhawk. They cause any kind of disruption they can, espionage, anything they can to hurt the city and further the cause of Neril. So pretty cool group. Again, I've never used them, but I could definitely see the use for them. Now we come to entertainment in Greyhawk. We've got the Grand Theater, the Royal Opera House. These are both great adventure sites. And then we go to the Wheel of Gold, which is an inn, the Golden Phoenix, another, the Green Dragon Inn, which is owned in our campaign by one of the players. Each of these has changed in my campaign to accommodate the fact that it's owned by a player character. And then we get festivals in Greyhawk, the Holy Day of Pelor, which is Midsummer Day, Brewfest, Needfest, and the Feast of Fools. So this is a lot of meat for Greyhawk, and I've always enjoyed this book. Gladiators and the Pit. This is pretty cool. We get different forms of entertainment, gladiatorial entertainment in the arena called the Pit. Sometimes it's man versus man, human versus human, with bare fists, sometimes with weapons, sometimes it's person versus exotic creature like a bugbear or an ogre, and sometimes it's just basically WWE wrestling. The fourth type of event is unarmed combat between wrestlers and pugilists. For those contests, very popular with the older generation, combatants generally wear a wide assortment of garish and lurid costumes. Sound familiar? Yep, it's in here intentionally. It's supposed to be a little nod to WWE and all the other professional wrestling that's been going on for many years. And then we go to the various power groups of Greyhawk. These are not necessarily running things, but they are something of interest to the city. So we have the Fellowship of the Torch, which is a group of player characters that operate out of the city. And then we get a lot on it. The history of the Fellowship. We get a really cool magic item that one of them is carrying, the Torch of Anazander. And then we get a group called the Beautiful People. These are nice folks that are trying to do good within the city of Greyhawk, up to and including just charitable work instead of always out fighting evil. Kind of a cool group. I've never used either one of these, but again, I could see the use for them. And then we have some random folk that are just living in the city. Estrella Shenfarel, who's a Greyhawk dragon. This individual has appeared in my campaign. She appears as an elven female of youthful age. And she's actually been in my campaign and is still active in my campaign. Griffith Adarian is a druid that's also active in my game. He's over by the Druid Gate and has been a contact for my players for years. And then we come to some bad guy groups, the Nemesis Npcs. So we got a Patriarch of Nerl, and then we've got versions 1, 2, and 3 of him. So here's for 11th level, 14th level, and 18th level. So whatever power level your group is, this guy's got a profile for them. And then we got High Rene, who could interact with your player characters. The Cursed One, who has different problems with one of his magic items. And then a couple of different versions of mages that you can use. So, and then we come down to some smooth operators and individuals. These are just individuals you can plug in anywhere and might be of some interest, or maybe they fence goods for your player characters, or maybe they're just conduits for information. We get a nice look at a couple of them here. Some more artwork. And we even have a pseudo-dragon, who is Jalarzi's pseudo-dragon. It's her familiar, but she's got to deal with it where it can kind of come and go as it wants. Kind of interesting. We've got a freelance thief, a bandit and blackmailer. Some pretty good ideas in here. These are all essentially adventure hooks. I appreciate that these were put in here. And then we have some actual adventures that go in the city. So this would be if you wanted to actually sit down and run this adventure, they're here for you. There's, I think, 3 of them. So the first one is, the first one is the Tears at the Orphanage. Then we have King of the Rats. That's going to take place down in the sewers. And there's the King of the Rats. Then we have Dark Justice. The Heart of Al-Rakim. And pretty much that's it. We're out of the book. This is an outstanding resource for the city of Greyhawk. If you're running the city, I recommend it completely. This adds so much depth into the city, into Greyhawk itself. It's not Gygax's, but it's the best we're going to get. And I'll take it any day of the week. So I use this all the time. This book box is always right there at the front of my shelf, waiting to be pulled out. My players have encountered just a ton of stuff out of here and don't even know it because none of them have read this, but I have. As I said, it's available on DriveThruRPG. It's $10. For the reading alone, it's worth it. Great depth for anybody who's running a Greyhawk campaign. So that's all I've got to say today about Greyhawk, Folk, Feuds, and Factions. And that finishes my look at the Greyhawk box set, The City of Greyhawk, from '89. My next set on this series is going to be the Greyhawk Wars. We're going to take a look at that box set. And I'll give you my thoughts on that as well, and on some of the Greyhawk Wars information in general. So that's all I've got to say for today. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you heard and saw, please like and subscribe. If you can help out on the Patreon, that'd be wonderful. And I'll see you next time on page 121.